Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm super excited to have you today. Today the topic that we're going to go over is understanding the relationship between creator and created, and in a larger sense, understanding why we obey God in a lot of ways. So we're going to go over a study in Job that I did a long time ago and just briefly go over it to explain the topic of relationship between creator and created and why we follow God and obey His commands. The first verse we're going to go over is Job chapter 1, verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless, upright, fearing God, and turning away from evil. Now, the reason why I share this verse with you guys is because it offers us a key to understanding what's going on here in the book of Job. The biggest thing is that we can see from the Word of God that the Word says he was blameless, upright, and fearing God, and turning away from evil. Now, I believe the book of Job really is a big dissertation on morality and on how God and God's justice, essentially. But if we look in Job chapter 4, verse 6, Job's friends are talking to him, the three friends that come and basically talk to him, and each has a different or similar or a different perspective on God's justice, but they basically tell Job in chapter 4, verse 6, is not your fear of God your confidence, and the integrity of your ways your hope? Now, Job's friends basically understood the world in a way that they saw God almost as like a law of nature, where the law of, if you do good, you're going to receive good things. If you do evil, you're going to receive evil things. It's almost like this law of karma. Now, we do know God is a just God, and He will execute justice. But in this life, it does not mean that justice will come in this life, per se. And that's what Job's friends believed that it was in this life. And they basically said, Job, if you have received these evil things, it's because you did evil things. And Job was saying, no, and even the Word of God says he was blameless, fearing God, and turning away from evil. So basically, the way that a lot of people think, and even in the Christian world, is that if we do good things, and if we love God and follow His commandments, then good things are going to come to us. But rather, that is not actually the case that we can see from Job, because there is no correlation with doing good works and receiving good things in this life. We know that Jesus has promised us rewards for our works, and that every man is going to be given according to what he has done, according to his deeds on this earth in heaven. But in this life, it does not function in that capacity. It's a different kind of waiting on the Lord and on the eternal reward after we die and stuff. So, and we even see that in the book of Acts, chapter 14, 16 through 17. It says, "In the generations gone by, He permitted all the nations to go their own ways. Yet He did not leave Himself without witness, and that He did good and gave you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons, satisfying your hearts with food and gladness." So we can see that the world that is full of sin and has turned away from God, even in that, God has blessed those people and given them abundance in rain, in food, in sustenance. So it's not as though we serve God for the reward of serving God in this life, but rather, as we see in Luke 17, verse 10, "So you too, when you do all the things which are commanded you, say, we are unworthy slaves, and we have done only which we ought to have done." So we have to have this attitude of, I don't do good works so I can be rewarded, but rather I do good works and I follow the commands of God because it's what I ought to do. It's the standard that I ought to be living up. It's not, or living up to, it's not a higher standard and reaching up where you are rewarded for it, but rather because God is God and you are a human, and we should honor Him because He is God, and we should follow His commands and wisdom because He made us, He made this world, He made everything. He is the owner of us and the world, and we ought to follow after his ways. So the biggest thing is we need to break this mentality of I serve God for the blessing rather than I serve God because he's God. And also because, and we know this from John, we do the things that Jesus did and we follow his commands because we love him and because he loved us first. So, yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about today. I'm trying to break that attitude of, because a lot of times you can look at your life and say, I'm following God and I'm doing the best I can, and it still seems like this thing is coming to my life, these curses, and I'm not receiving the blessing. And I think what it really comes down to is God's going to give you the blessing if he wants to give you the blessing, but it's not because you were being a good person. First and foremost, we know that no one is good enough for salvation. We all need Christ. So it's not as though even in the first place you could have saved yourself or received the favor of God through good works, but it's rather just because of his grace and his love that he blesses us with things. So we just need to have that mentality as Christians that we serve God because he's God. But that's just what I want to talk about today. If you were blessed by this or encouraged by this, leave a like, subscribe, comment below. If you want to support the ministry, you can just share this video on other social media platforms. And also, if you want to sow into the ministry, you can do that below. You just click the link in the description. Anyways, I hope you guys were encouraged today and you have a good rest of your day. All right, bye-bye.